Well, let's delve deeper into the story now with Victor Gao, Chair Professor at Soochow University. Many thanks for joining us on the programme. Very good to see you today. What do you make of the US decision to supply Taiwan with weapons aid?
First of all, the U.S. decision to supply Taiwan separatists with more weapons is a clear violation of the One China policy, and the Chinese government and the Chinese people are fully justified to condemn in the strongest term such decision to hollow out and violate the One China policy. On the other hand, I think everyone now should have enough sufficient evidence to see that the United States is trying its best to change the status quo of the relations across the Taiwan Strait. The United States is not maintaining the status quo. It is creating more and more arms sale to Taiwan separatists so that eventually, on one particular day, these separatists can declare full independence from China, which is a dead end because the Chinese people and the Chinese government will never allow that to happen, and it will trigger a fallout confrontation across the Taiwan Strait, and eventually may even drag the United States into this ongoing and ever-escalating conflagration. Therefore, I think the United States should be fully aware of the consequences of its enhanced and increased arms sale to Taiwan, and should really put a stop to such very provocative and dangerous actions, which eventually will serve no good ends, but only serve the end of increasing tension and maybe pushing the situation beyond the point of no return.
Beijing has responded, showing very clearly how it feels about this aid deal. Do you think we can expect a response from the US? What do you think they'll say if they do?
Well, I think the United States is practicing the maximum form of hypocrisy and double standards because, on the one hand, the U.S. government in recent months has represented again and again and again to the Chinese government that it continues to follow the One China policy. It continues to view Taiwan as an integral part of China. On the other hand, if we look at what the United States is doing in real actions, for example, it is doing just the opposite because it's supplying Patriot missiles to Taiwan. It's supplying more and more sophisticated weapons, hardwares and softwares to Taiwan. It is really raised the ante by claiming that it will eventually send military personnel from the United States to help defend Taiwan. So this is the maximum form of double standards, crosstalk, for example. And I think it's meant to confuse the Americans on the one hand, confuse the U.S. allies on the other hand, and also confuse people in Taiwan as well as in mainland China, because we do not want to have such double talk from the United States. We just want to have one single consistent policy from Washington about what exactly is their China policy. Is there only one China? Is Taiwan still viewed by the United States as part of China? And if the U.S. government does continue with the One China policy, then it's only logical that it should halt such more enhanced and more lethal sales of weapons to Taiwan, because it will not lead to peace across the Taiwan Strait. It will cause conflict and confrontation across the Taiwan Strait.
But that's the key question, isn't it? Because Beijing has been very clear all the way along what its red lines are when it comes to Taiwan, and yet the US seems to continue provoking China over the issue. Why, in your opinion, does it continue to do so?
Well, first of all, philosophically speaking, from the Chinese perspective, justice has very long arms, and China is not in a rush. China is not panicking. China is sizing up all the situation, and eventually will make a decision in its due course by its own timetable. And the United States agitation about the cross-strait relations will not dictate the timetable about how reunification should be achieved across the two sides of the Taiwan Strait. Therefore, I think China is really in the driver's seat. We are witnessing all these flagrant violations of the One China policy. We want to record all these violations. We want to put it in the archive so that historians, the future generations will see for sure. And then by the end of the day, when the reunification does take place, all those decision makers in Washington will be put to shame, because whatever they are doing will be proven to be a complete failure, and the reunification of China will be achieved in due course. This is something no one can stop it, no one can derail it. All the decision makers in Washington, military as well as congressional, as well as in the government, will be proven by history that they are on the wrong side of history, and the Chinese reunification is the mega trend that they will have to live with.
Victor Galmany, thanks for joining us on the programme. It's great to get your take on the situation. Really appreciate it. That's Victor Gao, Chair Professor at Soochow University.